spectrum. We recently had a chance to talk to Ganes Kesari, who is the co-founder and chief decision scientist at Gramener and Innovation Titan. Gramener is a design-led data science company that helps solve business problems with insightful data stories and a low-code platform. Gramener employs over 250 plus people across the United States and India and has recently been acquired by Straive, a Singapore-based IT services company. Apart from being an entrepreneur, Ganesh is an AI thought leader, adjunct professor, and TEDx speaker. He helps leaders realize ROI on their data science investments. He advises organizations on building analytics teams and adopting a data culture. Ganesh is a global corporate trainer helping leaders build data-driven organizations. He contributes thought pieces to Forbes and MIT Sloan's Management Review. He is recognized as one of the top 3 global thought leaders in AI by Thinkers 360. Let's dive right in and listen to Ganesh's thoughts on all things data and AI. Hi Ganesh, thanks a lot for joining us on this podcast. As a background, can you just walk through your experience as an entrepreneur in technology itself?
Thanks for having me, Pushpa. A quick brief about me. I started my career in technology, playing a variety of consulting roles for about 8 years, and then co-founded an organization called Gramener to solve the challenge of consumption of data and enabling transformative decision making for organizations. And for the last 12 plus years, we've been growing, scaling the organization, and a couple of months back, we were acquired. So that's a brief. At the organization, I played the role of leading advisory, consulting, and the design teams, and then working closely with our clients to ensure they get ROI from data and analytics investments. The formal title is Chief Decision Scientist, but essentially helping organizations make the right decisions and get value from their investments. That was the role. That's the role I'm playing.
Okay, congratulations on your acquisition, Ganesh. But I think with respect to what is exciting you about technology currently, and given your areas of expertise around data analytics, artificial intelligence, and even non-traditional technologies that seem to be exciting you today, could you talk about that?
I've been amazed by the power of data. So when we started Gramener, that's when we got a little more deeper into it, and I was blown away by the kind of impact it can have on organizations and also individuals, each of us. And this was 2011, around even before big data was a thing or before AI came back into prominence. Over the years, I've seen how it has become pretty common conversation, and everyone believes and invests in data. Most leaders do that today. So that is what I'm most excited about, data. And on top of data, to leverage data and get value out of it, that's where analytics broadly has been very powerful. And AI, I view it as one of the technologies as part of the analytics umbrella to get deeper insights, automate, help make better decisions, and also establish that connection with the rest of the enterprise and with other technologies. So that way it is taking a shape of its own, but that's what excites me most. And broadly, I'm quite interested in this interplay of technologies now. Imagine data, analytics, AI on one side, and we have augmented reality, virtual reality, AR, VR, and we also have other emerging cutting edge technologies coming in like cloud, IoT, and so on. So the confluence of all of these is pretty game changing, and it can create digital enterprises, and we are seeing a lot of digital native organizations already. So this confluence of technology broadly excites me. I have my foot firmly in data.
Right, and now when we're flipping the coin, what parts of technology is concerning to you at the moment, Ganesh?
See, with emerging technology, something which is, I talked about the transformative power of technology. the flip side of it is the amount of harm it can do, whether it is data, AI, or any other emerging technology. And we are not having enough conversations, particularly on the ethical aspects of it. Security, yes, but at least that's getting some attention given data security, cybersecurity, and the impact it can have. And there are some regulations, and organization leaders are paying attention to it. Maybe not as much as they should, but at least there is some attention. But the ethical aspects, where there is no clear regulation, for example, are we right to use certain consumer data and use certain insights to cross sell? If they really need that solution service, then great, it's a win-win. Whereas if it gets into some of those edge cases of where we might be getting some additional advantage and kind of gets into exploitation of customers or using data in ways that consumers wouldn't prefer, that is concerning. And that is not just with data, but data is kind of the underlying, it's almost seen as the lifeblood of this entire digital economy. So any emerging technology, there's going to be data as a connection. So data, we often talk about data privacy, ethics, and so on. But for that matter, with any other technology, if people are using, for example, wearables with virtual reality, and they're going to be interacting with like with the headset or with augmented reality, they're going to be pointing their phone at spaces within their home, clicking pictures, or and all of that could be recorded. And how is that the surrounding, and how is the behavior of the consumers or the enterprise consumers, how is it being used? Are people conscious? Are they aware of it? There is a lot of excitement, people get in and they use it, but the downside of it, are people aware of it? So that's where the ethical angle comes in, and that concerns me most, because we are not having enough conversations and not much of regulations as well.
Right. I think that's a very pertinent point in terms of AI and ethics around it. I think you had spoken about using data as a storytelling element. So, for our audience, can you break down what data storytelling really means, and also how is it currently helping organizations grow, and how can organizations really leverage this data to better interact with their customers?
So the moment you say data, people think up numbers, statistics, and that is not very exciting. And that certainly doesn't help people make decisions. How do you convert those abstract pieces of information into a format that we humans can relate to, and can also some actions, whether it is in the enterprise or the personal context? So that's where data storytelling becomes useful. It's the visual presentation of information with the right context, and bringing in the insights and stitching together a narrative like a story, so that the takeaways or the actions become obvious. So there are three key elements here. One is the context, whether it's a business or the user context, that's important. And number two is the visual insight, the insights from analytics presented visually using charts, visual illustrations is number two. And number three is the narrative and a actionable takeaway. So when you have the right context, you have the right visuals and insights presented with a strong narrative, a compelling, engaging narrative with clear takeaways. That is data storytelling. Let's look at an example. If there is, let's take the case of a cargo carrier, and the person who's handling the goods from the time the materials arrive at the airport till the time they are moved to the warehouse, the person wants to understand what leads to delays in handling the cargo. What they could talk to people, try to observe and figure out. That's how typical human decision making used to work, and relying on gut feel that, hey, I think typically more items come in this time of the day, maybe evenings, we don't have enough people to staff and handle it, or we saw some breakdown in machinery and hence we are not able to handle it on time. So that's again based on observation and gut feel or intuition. If we can use data, measure all of these, it can help us tell what exactly is the bottleneck. And now if you're able to present it as a visual layer, visualize and say that these are the key drivers of turnaround time. And we saw delays because, for example, we typically have more fragile items coming in at this particular time of the day. And any fragile item which is part assembled and shipped, that takes even more time to handle. And that's where we need more attention. If we don't take care of it, we are going to miss our SLAs. If that is shown as visual chart and with this context, I mean, with a clear takeaway that hence you need more number of people with this kind of skill set at these times of the day and on these particular days of the week, then it becomes very precise. And if all of this is visually presented, the decision becomes obvious, the understanding and decision becomes obvious. So that is the power of data storytelling.
Absolutely. I think the framework that you had shared would definitely be helpful in terms of thinking about how putting out their data in a very understandable way. I think now just taking data storytelling a step forward, you talk about AI being advanced data analytics. So can you talk to me about how the companies today, how are they leveraging AI, and also what are the opportunities that exist in AI in the days to come as well?
A lot of leaders are looking at AI for either cost saving opportunities, which usually is one place a lot of companies start. That's not the only way, that's not the most popular way, but a lot of organizations I've seen start with that. For example, they try to improve optimization of the supply chain process, or they try to automate certain aspects in the customer service process to save costs. So that's one way. For example, you try and bring in AI into customer service by handling the customer inquiries. Most popular example is that of, say, a chatbot to handle some of the common questions. That's an example. If you use compared to the traditional chatbots, which are not very exciting to have a conversation with, if you use some of the more modern ones, which can understand what a person is asking and be able to have a fluent conversation, just like, say, ChatGPT or some of these the recent LLMs, that is one way that you can apply, bring about efficiency, and save some costs in the process. The other way organizations look at it would be to generate revenue. Often sales and marketing function is looked at. If AI can help you identify the right target segment to cross-sell certain services and be able to recommend a certain set of offerings that one customer would be interested in, it simplifies the job for the sales force and it makes it much more precise. So that's another way that AI can help you improve the top line. So bottom line, top line improvement are good ways to get started. But unfortunately, a lot of people get distracted by some of the cool aspects of, for example, using large language models to do interesting stuff, but which may not really improve your top line or bottom line. So that is the trap to avoid. But these are some common ways to get started.
With respect to where you see new technologies like generative AI eventually moving towards in the future, what are those specific areas or industries that you think will be hugely impacted by the power of generative AI, and also probably even result in shutting down because of AI and its different cousins?
Yeah. I think if we flip the question, which are those places which will not be impacted by generative AI, is a question which will be difficult to answer, because the way I've seen it, it touches every single industry in some way or the other, because it can work across all the functions, right from supply chain, procurement, manufacturing, or service delivery to customer handling. This is like a horizontal within any organization, and if you look at any of the verticals, there is uh, uh, there is relevance of data. If there is relevance of data, there is scope for analysis, analytics insights, and there's scope for automation. So that way, I think it's going to impact every single industry and most jobs. So that's how I see it. Yeah, so I think which industries will be impacted sooner, later, which roles will be impacted. I think that we are we're getting a good sense of it now, but that's also fast changing as we have the next version of the generative AI models being rolled out. We find that every few weeks they master something. They're able to clear exams better than humans. So their capability is changing very rapidly. So pretty much every industry is going to be impacted.
Wonderful, Ganesh. I think in terms of your thoughts on small language models was something that I thought would be beneficial to our audience.
Yeah. Uh, so usually I talk like even during the days of big data and when we started using deep learning, one thing I've always highlighted is that there is great value in small data. There is great value in simple statistics and traditional machine learning models. Uh, and a majority of organizational challenges, even today, can be solved by using simpler analytics techniques on small footprints of data. So extending that, similarly, you don't have to look at the large language models and expensive training. There are various ways where you can look at much smaller footprint, simpler models and get value out of it. And I think this space is fast evolving.
Absolutely, Ganesh. So I think if you were to recommend a particular framework of how an organization or an entrepreneur should leverage data analytics AI today, how should they start out the implementation process in terms of leveraging data to make decisions?
So the best way to start with data and analytics, I usually say, is that to not think about data or analytics. Always start with the organizational challenge. What problem do we want to solve? And then look at uh, how technology can help. Um, so if you're trying to build out a business, find out what are those high impact problems that your potential customers are looking for, market segments where there are gaps, and then find out if AI or any technology is a good fit. Analytics AI is a good fit for that. So starting with business problem statements, the stakeholders, what challenges are they facing, how big are those challenges if we're able to quantify that. That is a good way to find out the direction and the big projects or products that we want to build. And then figuring out which of these have to be solved immediately, which ones people can live with it. So it'll be good to build out some pilots and check, do quick check. And with AI, it is very easy to quickly stand up some quick applications. A lot of these are plug and play, and we are able to quickly create wrappers around the AI models today. So building some of these as MVPs and testing it out in the market with potential customers based on the problem statements that we've initially identified is a good second step, even before assembling a large team or investing too much into building a full-fledged product, because we want to quickly experiment and see whether if it's really valuable. And then when you see traction, that's when you can look at how do you scale on top of that. If you're quickly assembling a prototype, maybe it may not scale. But then if you see enough value in that, then you can think about uh, the custom build versus buy versus wrapper on top of some platform. All of those approaches um, can then come in. Um, but throughout this, look at how you can solve the challenge, add value to the customer, and be prepared um, uh, to quickly adapt the approach based on the tools available, because we are seeing a lot of changes in the ecosystem, uh, new tools coming in, and a lot of tools getting acquired or biting the dust. So that way, staying agile, being prepared to adapt is important.
Fantastic. I really like how you spoke about the MVP and the agility that comes before setting up a team or spending resources. I think is extremely crucial in the earliest stages. But as you spoke about value, right? So I was curious to understand, how do you quantify that value? Is the value going to be something that is monetarily you're able to earn that cash, which makes the value, or is it just that you're solving the problem, the customer being the real value?
That's a great question. It has to be tangible, um, quantifiable value in some financial terms. only then that will appeal to stakeholders and people probably who will write the checks. So any of these examples, we talked about the example of say the supply chain and the logistics example. So if you're able to uh, manage the SLAs better and avoid some penalties, that's financial saving. If you're able to optimize the staffing and bring in the right number of people at the right time so that you don't lose the business, you don't miss the SLAs, and at the same time, you also have the right number of people, you don't have productivity issues. So all of that can translate into dollars of savings. And similarly, we talked about the top line example, cross sell. So if you're able to sell more, the revenue per salesperson increases when you use a technology tool with more fine-grained recommendations. That is a way that you can quantitatively check before and after. So it's always good to run experiments like it's often called as A/B tests, where you check with a prototype and see if you run this with a prototype as one sample, and then you have a control sample where you do it business as usual, and then you start comparing the results. That's a good way to check with the solution what are the kind of improvements you're getting. It could be side by side, it could be before and after, and there are different ways to run the experiment based on the extent of control you have and how you can sample it and do it. But it is always strongly recommended to quantify this, preferably in financial terms. But if you're going to have some other impact, for example, there's improvement in brand image, can you quantify this in terms of some measure of brand value? So it's always good to quantify it, if possible, in financial terms, and that can help you, one, build a case when you are trying to convince someone and secure funding or build a product, and number two, when you're trying to sell this to some customers, they would need that quantification in order to share it with their internal teams. So this is crucial to do with any set of stakeholders, and it's always important.
Fantastic. I like the very diplomatic answer to that question, but I think right now I probably want, if I am someone or if anybody in the audience is someone who is looking to start a career around getting themselves skilled in AI, what are the skill sets that they need to possess today to really be valuable in this industry?
Yeah, I get this question a lot. So with AI, people, I'll tell you what not to do or what not to assume. It's not just about being a data scientist, not about training AI models. And with generative AI, the craziness is, I think, even higher. People assume that you need to know everything about large language models and should be able to build it. There are several roles with AI that are uh, highly impactful for organizations. I'll talk about a couple of these. One, a product manager, someone who understands AI and how it can impact the business, comes from the business side of things, and is able to uh, identify the right set of initiatives, right products to build, and is able to manage it end to end. And this needs more business skill set than an AI skill set, but certainly needs AI understanding and conceptual understanding. So that is one of those. And then and this is more from a product manager, someone who would spearhead, manage change, adoption, and all of that. And second is that of what is popularly called as a data translator. Again, closely related to the first word, very similar, comes from the business side of things, but is able to translate this by working with a technical team, a team of data scientists, information designers, and all other technical folks. And on the other side is working closely with the business users and other senior business stakeholders, and be able to translate business to technology, technology to business, and is able to manage this, being driving, like managing this entire product or project very closely. Uh, so that's another role. And then another non-technical role is that of an information designer, someone who comes from a information design, UI, or a UX. These are two different areas. Information design is more closer to data visualization or presenting information. There are several design courses in universities for that today. The other one is the more traditional UI UX, which also is useful. You need that to create the right skin, right interface for people to interact with AI solutions. Um, Apart from these, there are other technical roles, like for example, you don't again know to again you don't need to get into the model building, but still need to work on the data side of things. Data engineers, data architects play a very crucial role in getting the data ready for AI models to work upon. So data engineers, data architects are again important roles, and then the obvious roles of data scientists. That is there, and then now we also have with generative AI, large language models. We have other roles like, for example, prompt engineers and LLM architects and so on. So all of these are career options, and many of these, as you would have guessed from the explanation, don't need programming skills. So it's important to look at all of these and then pick a role which a person has a strength towards. For example, if you're stronger on the business side of things, design side of things, there are several roles you don't have to learn programming. And it takes all of these people coming together to create a compelling AI solution which can generate business value. Yeah, that's something which a lot of organizations are also getting around to realizing and staffing more multifunctional roles in their teams.
Great. I think that myth of, if you want to get into a technical field, that you will have to be a programmer is something that you've busted right now. So I think my next question is around where do you see the future of generative AI from here on, and what are the trends that we will have to be prepared for today to be successful in that era?
So I would say uh, three core skills, and none of these are technical or even business. They are more behavioral. One, be prepared to embrace change, because we are going through a very exciting and at the same time a very uncertain period where things are completely turning upside down. As long as we are able to embrace change with an open mind, that whether we like it or not, that is needed. That's number one. And second, uh, being curious and willing to experiment. It's not just for people who are working in research labs, but this has become crucial for anyone in any kind of role, because there are new tools in your space. There will be new applications which will come in, which will do part of the roles that you're already doing. It's important to understand what are the pros and cons and see which tools you can embrace and do your job better, or upskill yourselves to do something else even more valuable. So being curious and experimenting is important. And third, like having this ability to uh, unlearn and relearn, the learning ability. So that is going to be more important than ever. So three things just to summarize: one, embracing change; second, being curious and doing some small experiments and trying to look at things with a different perspective; and third is a strong mindset to learn continuously.
Absolutely. I think that's very pertinent advice for youngsters looking to pursue a career in these fields. And I also really liked how you said relearn and not just and unlearn what you had previously learned. And I think that is again a skill set that a lot of us would have to develop. In conclusion, if you could recommend 5 books that aspiring entrepreneurs and students, early stage investors can read to really enhance their knowledge, not just about AI, but even about founding companies. I would love to hear your thoughts there.
A couple of books, maybe there are more I keep posting on my LinkedIn. So LinkedIn and my newsletter. So I would have more recommendations. Maybe if I had to talk about two or three books. One, the classic Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman. I would still recommend it. Is I think probably been close to 15 to 20 years. It's still a classic. There's a lot to learn. So that's one I keep going back to. And second, Think Again by Adam Grant, a recent book. I found this very useful. Uh, Entrepreneurs and people who are looking at building stuff will find it useful. And a third and final one is Competing in the Age of AI. This is by a couple of Harvard Business School professors talking about how we need to relook at the business models, operating models, and how organizations can compete with the digital natives in the age of AI. I think that's a pretty good read. So these three books are good recommendations.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Ganesh. Thank you
My
for your
pleasure.
time and for all of your very valuable thoughts.
Likewise, great talking to you as well.